Welcome to Island Voices, examining the incredible history of the island of Manhattan and talking to the people who have made it incredible. If you're enjoying us on YouTube, please be sure to hit the red subscribe button at the bottom right of your screen, and welcome aboard. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest today, though she isn't from New York, has spent a good deal of time here, working, living, playing, podcast guesting. And frankly, she fits in quite well. Someone who came out of the gate very strong way back in the last millennium, and to her credit, has maintained that pace ever since. In this tumultuous business, there are not a lot of ladies or men who can say that. Back in 1996, fresh out of the renowned Royal Academy of Dramatic Art in London, this ambitious, classically trained young thespian launched her professional career on screen in the provocative and very dark and, I think, sad film Kama Sutra, which did more than open a few eyes. It set in motion a vastly prolific career in acting. However, it didn't all happen that easily. In the wake of this film, offers did start rolling in for this newcomer, but mostly for similarly provocative and risque projects. But this surprisingly savvy upstart in her early 20s, unlike so many others, refused to take that bait. She had the foresight at the very beginning to understand that pattern could and very likely would lead to her becoming pigeonholed or typecast, which very often becomes a point of no return in this crazy business. Well, what did she do? Well, she exercised her options, which I have mentioned are always a good idea to have. And she turned to the real core of her training, which was in fact the stage. And from that point forward, established herself as one of the foremost theater actresses in the world, crafting a mosaic of diverse and vibrant characters, a veritable trunk full of roles, including Bianca in Shakespeare's Othello at the National Theatre in London, and Gila in Harold Pinter's One for the Road here at Lincoln Center. She starred in Anton Chekhov's Ivanov, also at the National Theatre, and in Noel Coward's The Vortex at the Donmar Theatre, also in London. In 2014, she starred along with Ralph Fiennes in George Bernard Shaw's Man and Superman, also at the National Theatre. And her 2019 performance in Present Laughter at the Old Vic garnered the highly coveted Olivier Award for Best Actress in a Supporting Role. And yet, in the midst of all that stage success, she has also been able to rack up credits on screen, including the dynamic and dangerous Alaria Sand in Game of Thrones, a show that a few people have heard of, as well as Exodus, God and Kings, directed by Ridley Scott and starring Christian Bale, among others, as well as the program that I know her from, Warden Safia Masri, who in fact took my job. But only after I took hers. So, yeah. Wow. Listen, this lady kind of has it going on. And she's not showing any signs of slowing down. And the best part is she did it her own way. And for that, she deserves all the success she has accumulated in this implausibly challenging industry. So, Damas and Aaron, ladies and gentlemen, I am quite honored to introduce you to one of the finest and most accomplished actresses of our time, Miss Indira Varma. Welcome back, Mavrao.
Thank you so much, Chance. That is one hell of an introduction. Sounds
well,
very.
You came back a second time. I figured I had to, ramp it up a little bit. But it's all true. You're incredibly successful. And tell us what's going on.
Gosh, at the moment I'm in LA and I am about to start filming. I'm in quarantine actually, but I'm about to start filming Obi-Wan, which is very exciting, miniseries for Disney. And I feel like I'm ticking off yet another epic TV series genre.
Great. Is this your first big travel trip since the whole COVID thing?
Yeah, apart from doing the second season of For Life last year.
Right, yeah, you came in
it's really hard, and it's a real heart pull because I have to leave my family, and you can't travel back and forth at the moment. So they're extended periods of time away. And that is so difficult, and it's it makes it really hard to be a mother and a parent in this profession, actually, because I think what's fantastic about our industry is that it does span the globe, and more so nowadays, I think, with the expansion of Netflix and TV, there's so much going on. happening, and the filming happens worldwide. And
Right.
but it's like it becomes harder and harder as a woman and a mother, I think.
How old's your daughter?
She's 13.
I mean, you want to be there. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, she
Of
wants
course.
me there, but she also doesn't want me. You know what I mean? Like
Oh,
she
yeah,
wants
I've been
me
through
in the
that.
bedroom without me, but she wants me in the background somewhere. Yeah.
And your husband is an actor too?
He is, yeah. We actually met on Othello when I played Bianca, and he played, oh God, what was the name of that character? We were lovers in it, basically. He was
That works.
Reputation, I've Lost My Reputation. Is that I can't remember the name of the Cassio. He played Cassio.
Role.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it was amazing.
And that was back. Was that the one you did in 2001?
No, that was 97.
Good gracious, woman.
I know. And we did an amazing world tour. Sam Mendes directed it. It was my first job at the National. Bianca's a tiny part, you know. David Harewood was Othello. Sam Mendes directed the National. And it was back in the day when, and we don't really do this anymore, when theatre is like a calling card for a country. And so we literally did a 3-month world tour, starting off we opened in Houston, Texas.
Wow.
Did I just make that up?
Well,
no, I think no. Oh, it was.
You made up the pronunciation of it, but I don't think you made up that. I'll take your word for it.
I think I got that wrong, actually. But we opened somewhere in the States, and then we went Tokyo, Beijing, Shanghai, Seoul, Hong Kong. We went to New Zealand. We went to Australia. We ended up in New York, in BAM. And
wow.
That was really incredible. It was
so you
amazing.
got to know him pretty well.
Yeah, we did.
Tell me about your background a little bit. First off, tell me the truth. Am I saying your name wrong?
No, there's so many. Indira.
I mean, I heard one of those fancy BBC things with you, and she was Indira Varma is with us today.
Varma.
She's an actress of extraordinary talent, and I agree. But I'm like, have I been saying her name wrong?
Well, I mean, it's funny because it's a, you know, it's an Indian name,
yeah.
But because I was brought up in England, nobody could pronounce it. I was brought up in Bath, which is a very white city, you know, and so everything gets anglicized. And you sort of then, whenever I used to go back to India, the kids would go, what is your name? What is your name? And I would be like, Indira. And they'd be laughing at me because I wasn't pronouncing my own bloody name.
Fun of you?
Yeah.
Why?
I have this thing about, you know, the fact that I can't pronounce my name properly. I mean, it is, the rhythm is Indira.
Okay, so it's closer to Indra than Indira.
Yeah, Indira.
Duly noted. Pronunciations have started to matter to me more in doing this podcasting, as there's a lot of languages, and saying it the right way, I really think is important if you can, you know, if you happen to know it,
yes.
Change the context.
But then do you not think it can be, because I'm a French speaker, because my mother's Swiss, and sometimes I get accused of being deeply pretentious by pronouncing French words properly within the context of English, and people just go, oh, come on.
I mean, those kids who were making fun of the way you said your name might do that, but I mean, what's wrong with saying something the right way?
Well, because is it not showing off?
I don't think so.
You're not going, I speak another language, you know.
I've been trying to pronounce things better and better. I do it extremely badly, but I do try to pay attention to it anyway.
But also, like, just on another thing, right? We have, like, as you know, being interested in language and stuff, which I am as well. It's like we have the English language has adopted so many different words from all around the world. Right. If we actually pronounced every single word properly, we would be speaking in so many different dialects. It would sound nuts.
Absolutely. So there is a medium where you have to, in order to keep people aware of what the hell you're talking about, you have to do certain modifications on certain words. Agreed. But if you're saying, well, if it's your name, kid.
Yeah.
We can say it the right way. How does
Yeah.
your dad say it? Say it exactly how your dad says it.
Indira. Indira.
Indira. Oh, okay. Yeah, I got it. I got it. Indira it is. So give me a quick review of where you came from in acting, how you got in. You went to RADA, right? Tell me about that. Tell me how you got into it. And tell me what your initial experiences were doing that.
Like I remember actually very, very early when I was probably like at junior school. So that's like before the age of 12. My mum put me in a drama group. She basically used it as babysitting. So she would drop me there after school. And I was the first to arrive and they fed me. And I was the last to leave because my mum was working.
You get her money's worth, sure.
Yeah, and I loved it because it was this mum and her younger kid. And she would allow me to go upstairs and sort of create a character so that when the other kids came, I would come down the stairs as like a creature or a clown or a sort of someone who'd come off the street. It was really weird. I mean, I was very young. And also one of my aunts in Switzerland is a drama teacher. And whenever we went on holiday with them, we used to do improv and but not like, that sounds really pretentious. It was playing, it was playing. So that was always there.
You have a good sense of variation of what communication is, I think. When somebody had asked you about a character you had seen it on television as a young person that had influenced you, you didn't say Meryl Streep, Laurence Olivier, the Brady Bunch. You said Marcel Marceau.
Well, actually, I didn't see Marcel Marceau on TV. I saw him in the theater live.
Okay, but that was this is somebody who impacted you as a child.
Yeah.
Not a speaking actor, but a mime.
Yeah. I think it was, I'm sure the fact that my parents, English was not their first language meant that when music was very important. Dance was something that we saw, that I was, introduced to, classical music, world music, all that kind of thing, but also physical theatre and theatre that didn't use language. And mime was one of those things. And in Bath, we have the Bath Festival every year in spring, which is around about May, June. And they do classical music, but they also do theatre and they have mime stuff. And also in London, you have the London Mime Festival, International Mime Festival, which is amazing. And we used to go and see different performers from around the world. And what I loved about it is it's not just UK-based stuff. It really is international. And the fact that I was watching Nola Ray, is also a famous Australian mime, and then Marcel Marceau, French, it's like these people are communicating the essence of being human, making me laugh, making me cry, making me feel different things, and expressing very complex and profound emotions, human emotions, and they're not even using words. And so I really felt an affinity to that. And I used to do these little, again, my mum used to sort of try, and I think probably she knew that I had this interest. And I used to do little drama group things, other ones, where I used to enter these competitions every summer called Midsummer Festival. I was by no means one of the better ones. I don't know, I'm curious now in retrospect, whether or not it was because I wasn't to the taste of the adjudicators, like now with the Golden Globes and all that, people are starting to question, okay, so who are these judging panels? Who are they made up of? Oh, they're all the same kind of person.
Hey, I've been thinking that the whole time, but
Oh, but you know what I mean? So, but I used to do a little mime. We had to do a solo mime thing, like a little piece of a monologue, a piece of a poetry, and a bit of sight reading. And I really enjoyed it. And that's when I thought, oh, I'd love to be a mime.
That's incredible. And because it is, again, this, and it shows why, and I think it has a lot to do with why and how you're so successful on the stage, because there is so much more than just the words. And
I totally agree. I mean, I think mime is still what I dream of. I never really was able to pursue it. And actors like Toby Jones and Simon McBurney are very much from that physical theatre school, which is kind of what I wanted to do. I wanted to go to Lecoq. And I was told, you know, when I was 17 and applying for universities and drama schools, that's what I wanted to do. But I don't think you can really go at 17. And my school said, go to, not, sorry about the helicopter. They said, apply to drama schools. And there are lots of drama schools, accredited, well-respected drama schools in London. And I applied to 4, and RADA was one of the ones that I got into. And I didn't even know that you could be an actor as a profession. And I didn't know what it meant, and also TV wasn't really part of my upbringing. I don't know why. We had like one off a skit that was about that big and showed black and white. But yeah, and then I thought I was going to go to somewhere like Lecoq after RADA, but my teachers were like, "Oh God, what are you saying? You're going to do some screen work." It's like, "Oh, okay." Well, when you're young and naive,
she had some foresight, didn't she?
Maybe. But I haven't let it go. I still want to do physical.
Good. In your radio play, the radio play that you narrated of Virginia Woolf's adaptation, the adaptation of Virginia Woolf's A Room of One's Own, you play her character who just goes by Woman, correct? The Woman. That's the character's name. She's a young lady in the late 1920s who chronicles all her challenges, the challenges that she faces in trying to not just find a profession, a trade, a means of actually working in the world, but just finding an identity in that world that's not even 100 years ago. And in spite of being an incredibly talented writer, sees all these roadblocks at every turn. She's asked at one point, "Do you have an introduction letter to come in here?" She has a letter from a guy.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not a sheltered guy. I read a lot of stuff. I know a lot of history, but even that really struck me. The level of the roadblocks to a young woman in what to me is not ancient times. You know, it's the 1920s, late 1920s. That's important, I think, to get those stories out and communicate those stories to people today who are taking selfies and sharing them on Instagram and have no sense that that is the way things used to be, aren't they?
I hadn't read any Virginia Woolf before I did that radio play. And when I read her, it's essentially, it's a lecture that she wrote. Yeah. And it was adapted brilliantly, I think. And it was the first time I read it, and I can't believe that it was written 100 years ago, and that it was still so resonant,
pertinent.
Yeah. And one of the things, actually, going back to the name thing, is that there were so many writers of that time and before that time, women writers that they were either anonymous or they used a male name, so that they could get published. You know, so and I feel like and in a different way, because my name is, when I was at drama school, my final year, you have that moment where you choose your stage name, right? And it's whether or not you keep your own name or you find something else. And there's something about wanting it to be personal. I don't know if that's, again, a bit naive and sort of heebie-jeebie, sort of hippie-ish, but there's something about, I wanted my identity and spirit to be who I am as an actor. And so I kind of wanted to keep my own name, but I had some teachers saying, change your name because it's an Indian name and you're half Indian, and also you're limiting your possibilities by keeping an Indian name. And I thought at the time, I just thought, no, I'm going to be who I am, and hopefully my talent will shine through. How naive was I?
I don't think you were naive at all, Indra. I think you were right
Well,
on.
well, I don't know if that's true because I mean, like you were saying, calling cards, there are stumbling blocks every single step of the way. And I acknowledge that I've been incredibly lucky in my career, but also there have been countless opportunities that have passed me by because people have gone, we're not really looking for an Indian actor. So
And you
they,
think, I'm sorry, and you think the name
oh,
tagged you in their mind as Indian.
without a
And
doubt.
if your name was Smith, you think they wouldn't have said she looks like she may be of Indian descent.
Oh, without a doubt.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
Sadly, I think, and that I think that's still I think that's changing now, obviously, because we've made such a hue and cry about it. But we've been shouting about it for a very long time, all that kind of thing.
well, I think in spite of that, you've done just fine,
Yeah,
in my
yeah.
opinion. What there was a line in that radio play, in the waters of the mind, it's impossible to sit still. I have a feeling you identified with that line.
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
last time we talked, you said it feels good to be someplace that is ancient. Why is
Hmm.
that?
Did I say that? What
Yeah,
was
you
it?
did.
What was the
I got it on tape.
what was the context? What
We were
was it?
talking about the history of London and New
Oh,
York and so forth. And
yeah. I suppose it's that thing of kind of, when sometimes when people talk about standing on the shoulders of other men, women, people, whatever, whether it's through your profession and your career or whether it's as a mother or as a human being, we are learning from others. And I think being somewhere, well, anywhere you are in the world has history or, yeah, has a life, a history has come before you. And I think it's really important to acknowledge that and to respect it in a way.
I think
Yeah.
so too. And I think in doing the a room of one's own and material like that, you are doing that in a lot of ways. You are bringing forth historical elements that people otherwise would not be aware of.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I also, I have to give a little nod to radio because we sadly the funding for radio drama is just gets cut all the time because it's not it it's quite niche, nobody gets paid very much, but actually that's where a lot of good writers and TV writers and film writers begin. They'll write a radio drama, and because it's very cheap to make, and then from there that can propel them into a sort of a bigger format. And I love radio because I feel that it's because sometimes in TV and film you have to have the most perfect finished article, or you have to jump through a ton of hoops with producers and studios and execs and all that, whereas in radio it can be much closer to what you yourself want to create. And also, so I haven't written for radio at all, I don't really write, but I feel even as a performer, that's kind of where I was given opportunities not to play Indian early on in my career, and I think the discipline as well of being a voice and conveying story and emotion and all that stuff through the voice, and not sort of relying on your physical attributes or physical expression is a really excellent discipline as an actor.
Again, I think it points to why you're such a complete actor, because you break down these elements, the element of movement and facial expressions and no voice, and then the element of no facial expression, no visual, and just voice. And honestly, I really believe that's why you're so successful.
Oh,
And that's
well,
why
I
you're
don't know. I'm just
performer.
interested in it, and like, because I like at RADA, that's where I started to appreciate language, because we studied certain writers, and not genres, certain different types of writers that had impacted literature and drama through the years, and that's where I suddenly started to appreciate it. And doing Shakespeare, I mean, I always felt intimidated by Shakespeare, even though I have done a few plays professionally. It's still mammoth because it's like a different language. But then also I have done a lot of new writing, and I had the privilege of working with Harold Pinter as a writer, as a director, and as an actor as well. He acted in
You've worked very closely with him, haven't you?
Yeah, and he's such a specific writer because he doesn't write naturalistically in the most obvious common sense. And yet in order to perform it, I think you have to be as real and truthful as possible in order to get the humor out of it and the darkness out of it. And so it's really amazing to do that kind of work and that kind of writing with the writer himself,
What a great opportunity.
Martin Crimp and David Hare and it's Anya Rice as well. And I love working with writers because it is, and I think it's about music. Ultimately, I think all of this is about rhythm and music.
I agree. It's a rhythm. It's a vibration.
Yeah. Whether it's physical, like we have that, it's rhythm, it's music, it's dance, is all those things. And then vocally, a sentence structure. Like when I did the Bernard Shaw, Man and Superman, he uses punctuation, like someone who was really bad at school in terms of grammar. Oh my God, my grammar is terrible. We actually had somebody come into the National and remind us what a semicolon is and how it works in a sentence. And a colon, I couldn't tell you what it is now, but it works like musical notes and rest. And it's amazing. If you obey a great writer, he's done the work for you.
Yeah, they kind of know what they're doing.
Yeah. Really
has New York become a second home for you, or is New York a place that you could live?
Yeah. I feel sad that I'm not there. I like LA, but I hate driving, so it's a bit.
It's a very different dynamic out there.
So different. And the fact that it's an industry town makes me feel a bit weird. Yeah. But I love New York, and I think I wish I'd lived there in my 20s, my late 20s.
Does it facilitate these things that you and I pursue, these things in the arts and performing and miming and using your voice as a tool, and does it facilitate progressing?
I mean, I guess it does. I would love to work. I'd love to come and do a play there. I suppose I have a mixed thing about New York. So the first time I ever came to New York was for reshoots for Kama Sutra. So that was in 19.
Really?
Yeah.
New York, huh?
Yeah, and for reshoots, because we shot it in India, but then we just did a couple of pickup scenes or whatever, and that was my first experience of it, and I loved it so much. It assaulted me.
What do you remember about it? That's a long time ago. That's 1996.
Yeah, Sarita Chowdhury was she lived there, and so she sort of introduced it to me, and I just remember the yellow cab drivers and her smoking cigarettes in the back of the cab, that you could do that. Yes. And then it was all that. And it was kind of stinky. It was summer. It was kind of cabbagey, and the subways a bit stinky.
Yeah. And it was still coming out of the stinky era at that point. So you still got some of the old stink.
Yeah. But I kind of loved it. And then going over to Brooklyn and feeling the edginess of it. And yeah, it was that edgy part that really appealed to me, and that it just felt so vibrant. And of course, I'd grown up a little bit on Taxi Driver. Like at drama school, you watch the Woody Allens and Spike Lee, and
of course,
and you get that flavor of New York, and it feels so glamorous in its rawness, and especially for a young person, it's not intimidating. The sort of the violence that was sometimes portrayed was exciting. It felt it was like a head rush. Yeah.
I feel like there's a spirit, and I've said this to guests. I think there's a spirit in the sidewalks, a spirit within the soil beneath them. The wind that blows there, that seems to constantly blow all year, has been blowing for hundreds and hundreds of years before there were ever people living there and before there were ever buildings. I think that translates a certain spirit that gets inside people, like it seems to have gotten inside you,
Yeah.
and inspires them.
Yeah. And I just think also it's, Manhattan itself is tiny, and all these people are squashed into this place. And that, and there's such diversity within that space. There seems to be room, or rather people make room for themselves, no matter who they are or where they come from.
You kind of have to, right?
You have to, yeah. Right. I did feel like, because I worked there a couple of times, I did my first pilot. Actually, we did 7 episodes of this thing called 3 Pounds, which Danny Tucci did. Yeah. And that was in like 2006. And that was my first experience of living there for only 3 months, but right. I loved it. But I was taking the subway, and I was noticing that it's quite divided. It is quite, certain people live here, certain people live there.
Yeah. Where were you living at that time? Where did they put you?
Oh, I put myself in Midtown for a bit, and then a friend's kind of sublet. And then I had to go up to the Lower West Side, but kind of on the Park, kind of in a very scruffy little flat with cockroaches.
Hey, near the Park, though. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got a good taste of it. So.
I did. I loved it. And I loved being there this last time as well, especially staying in the Lower East Side. It feels so vibrant.
Yeah, it really, it's coming back. It's really taken a hit this past year, but it always does come back, and it will. And you make sure you come back and do another play there as well.
I just feel like there's less of a snobbery there.
Than where?
In, say, the UK.
Oh, okay.
Or London. I love London. Believe me, I love London.
Yeah.
But I think we still have which school did you go to? What's your family name? So that if you are not of the UK, we have the monarchy and, all that stuff. There's an identity that if you're other, I think, which is in a way, it's kind of potentially sad that the identity of New York or the US is not of its origin hasn't stayed as strong.
Well, the truth is the origins of Manhattan they're not just Dutch, but they're Dutch, Walloon, French, German, Spanish.
But I mean before that.
You mean the Native Americans?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have that, it's like the Native Americans have sort of their identity has sort of not disappeared completely, but is not as strong. Whereas in the UK, it's very much still the British people, whoever they are, right, even though complete mishmash. Yeah.
The Anglo-Saxons, that's who they were.
Yeah.
And that's their heritage. Well, that idea of, class and caste systems and so forth is why many people left England and much of Europe in the era that I'm studying in this 17th century. I mean, that's why they came here, and a lot of them went to New England, Boston area, and or Virginia, and gravitated to New York because they didn't want to deal with that stuff.
Wow. Right.
And that's part of the story. So,
yeah.
Well, listen, young lady, you yourself are living proof that one need not be from here to embody the indelible spirit of this incredible place. You do that as well as anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And you are a truly accomplished, independent professional, and I commend you on all your success. And we can't express enough how much we appreciate you sharing some of that with us.
Thank you so much for having me and welcoming me.
Absolutely. Good luck and enjoy Obi-Wan.
Thank you.
And Mission Impossible, right?
Yeah.
That's coming up.
I mean, don't blink. Whatever you do, don't blink.
Okay. Listen, I know you're going to be awesome with whatever you do. So I won't
And
ask.
also, I tell you one thing that I did, I'll plug on Hulu, is This Way Up, which is also, I did the second season of it a few months ago, which is a comedy. Aisling B and Sharon Horgan. Sharon Horgan, you might know from Catastrophe, and she's an amazing producer, actor, writer. And we've done the second season of This Way Up, which is a really great little comedy show. Yeah.
Oh, you're so busy. What about the Seagull? I think they're going to bring that back too, right?
Potentially. I thought it was going to go in autumn, but it might be next year.
This is in London, right?
Yeah. I mean, whatever happens, I will be doing a play next.
Yeah, I'm sure you will.
Yeah.
Well, whatever it is, you keep in touch. Let us know what it is, and we'll be watching. Danke, my bro.
See you.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. Good luck out there.
Bye.
See you soon. The one and only Indira Varma, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for visiting us again. Mevrouw, bedankt. Folks, thank you so much for joining us. And if you're enjoying Island Voices on YouTube, please be sure to hit the red subscribe button on the bottom right of your screen to get every week's episode. Now, if you want to delve deeper into the history of Manhattan, the incredible history of Manhattan from 1609 to 1909, then you must join us for our primary podcast, Island, available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and all major podcast directories. Climb aboard. History is cool. And we remind you to listen to the voices. They are the indelible echoes of the indomitable spirit of this incredible island. We'll see you next time.